This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Well, that was certainly a wild Phillies game last night as the Phillies somehow found a way to win that game. Josh Hennig here on a Hump Day Wednesday edition of the Power Hour known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies, wild win. Can they continue it tonight? We'll get into that. Plus, the aftermath of the 2025 NFL Draft in relation to the Eagles and the NFL. All that and more this hour. Dave Weinberg will join us for a Weinberg Wednesday coming up in less than 15 minutes from now. And then at 6:40 tonight, we'll be joined by Andy McNamara to talk some NFL. And as always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs are also available in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Like I said, last night's game was absolutely wild. And there's so much into that game that I don't want to sit here and treat it like we're going to dwell on the negatives of the game last night. But I do feel that sometimes games like last night allow us to conveniently forget when, for example, someone doesn't do well. And the reason why I say that is because we saw mistakes in the field from both Trey Turner and Johan Rojas. Now, we can argue and discuss about how consequential or non-consequential those mistakes were. We can debate about whether they were just guys making mistakes or if they should never happen. But the reality is that I walked away from last night's game with a distinct feeling of, I know that what I saw is not going to be discussed enough the next day. And it's no one's fault necessarily. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to blame anybody for that. But I'm just well aware that we live in a world where when you are a baseball team that is trying to win a championship, to try to win a World Series, games like last night kind of make you walk away a little puzzled, right? Because on one hand, you're thrilled and excited as a fan that they found a way to win the game in the most exciting way possible. But on the flip side, you look at Trey Turner and Johan Rojas and you scratch your head. Johan Rojas is here for his defense, but yeah, you got more from his bat than from his glove last night. Trey Turner is here because he's supposed to be a 300 hitter who gets on base a lot and is a very well-rounded hitter who is a reliable glove. Well, he gave you half the equation. He went 4 for 4 last night, but you wouldn't know it because that error that he committed basically let the Nationals back into the game. So, for the Phillies, you can't go forward as an organization and just be content with what you saw last night. You can't be an organization that just says ho-hum about what you saw last night. You got to treat what happened last night as another data point, another footnote, a little bit more information in the database, because you need to make sure that what happens in April doesn't happen in July, August, September, and especially not in October. When you look around and you see very clearly a game like last night, how can you not think what I do? This team is just not good enough as currently constructed. And for as fun as the game was and as exciting as the ending it was, I can't get past the fact that as this team is currently constructed, you're not winning a championship. because it takes more than just Trey Turner going 4 for 4. It takes more than just Kyle Schwarber hitting a home run. It takes more than any of those guys having a good at-bat or a good couple of bats for you to win a championship. You need, to quote Jason Kelce, the whole team. And there's still a part of me that looks around and says, is last night going to be a game that fuels you for a big run moving forward? Or is last night going to be a game where it's going to haunt you later in the year? Because I don't know about you guys, but I got a little deja vu back to 2022. Remember in 2022, the conversation was, this team does not have good enough defense behind its pitching staff to win a championship. And a large reason why they acquired guys in 2022 like Brandon Marsh and Edmundo Sosa was because you were trying to improve the defense. So now you're moving forward and you have questions about the defense and the bullpen, right? This roster needs some retooling. Now, I don't think it needs like a major retool. I don't think a major overhaul. But I do think you have to ask the question, what is this team going to be willing to do to retool? And as Bob Wankel told Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on Monday, it might come down to this prospect in the minor leagues being a trade asset.
Okay. You don't want to trade Andrew Painter? Okay. You probably don't want to trade Crawford? Fine. You're going to have to trade somebody of consequence in order to get back a meaningful piece. So maybe it's Mick Abel.
Maybe it is Mick Abel. Maybe you have to start having those conversations. Because for the first time in about 3-4 years, Mick Abel looks like a prospect again. He looks like a legitimate bona fide prospect. And if you don't trade him now, if you don't move on from him now, when his stock is at its highest, when are you going to move on from him? Look at George Summers' point real quick at 609-403-0973. Says, hey, Josh, 2 observations from the Phillies game last night. First, there should be no one else in the Phillies bullpen that should be the closer for the rest of the year except for Alvarado. Secondly, if the Phillies played the Nationals 100 times, they would look like the 1927 Yankees. That's from George Summers' point. Well, I think the obviously second point is a little more funny than anything else, so I do appreciate that. That's a solid job by George and Summers' point. But the first point I think is it's a larger problem in the game of baseball today, is that we don't have natural closers like we used to, 15, 20, 30 years ago. Maybe even 10 years ago to an extent, because even 10 years ago, you still had guys like Jonathan Papelbon coming out of teams' bullpens. The problem in today's game is that no one is scared of almost any closer anymore. There's almost nobody in baseball that has a guy coming out of the bullpen that you look around, you're like, oh, great, here we go. Here comes the guy. Here comes their guy. Because a game like last night showed you that even Alvarado has flaws. He lets the bases get loaded. Now he gets out of it with a strikeout, but still, bases were loaded, right? It's the idea that, we can sit here and say Alvarado should be the closer, but the problem is that the reason why they play this whole, hey, Romano, Alvarado, Romano, is because of the reality that, frankly, no one's looking at Alvarado or Romano or any other pitcher in baseball and being like, oh no, that guy's in the game. Even a guy like Diaz with electric stuff, I don't think anyone is necessarily scared of Edwin Diaz, and he may arguably be one of the best stuff for any back-end bullpen pitcher in all of baseball. We'll get into more of that coming up next Dave Weinberg for this week's edition of Weinberg Wednesday. Joins me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City. A community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NFL, the Eagles picking up the 5th-year option on defensive tackle Jordan Davis. It keeps him with the Eagles through the 2026 season. He was the Eagles' first-round pick in 2022, started every game over the last 2 years, and the option worth around $13 million. Phillies back on the diamond tonight, continuing their series with the Washington Nationals. Tuesday, they won the series opener 7-6 and have now won 3 straight. Philadelphia scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning, getting the winning run off a wild pitch. Kyle Schwarber had a 2-run home run in the 1st inning. Christopher Sanchez starts tonight, 2-1 on the season. Jake Irvin will counter for Washington, and he is 2-0. One other baseball note, Chase Petty, a 2021 Mainland High graduate, has been called up by the Reds and will make his Major League debut tonight for Cincinnati against the St. Louis Cardinals. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
With Progressive, it's easy to reach customer service with our app, website, chat, or by phone. Because when getting help is hard, it's not help at all.
Little help. A little help over here.
Thank you for calling Bench Press Assistance.
What?
Due to excessive gym volume, all available spotters are currently lifting heavy weights off the chests of other bench pressers.
Seriously?
Please continue to hold, and we will remove the barbell from your chest in the order in which your cry for help was received.
Getting assistance should be easy. With Progressive, it is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Smooth sailing for the next 24 to 36 hours, although we do have an unsettled forecast coming up at the end of the week. Watch for a few clouds tonight. It's going to be chilly again. Low temperature dips to 52. Partly sunny tomorrow, high 68, a pleasant day. Friday, warm and humid, 82. With a mix of sun and clouds, there is a chance of a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Periods of rain moving in on Saturday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Legend has it, underneath the NJM insurance offices lies a room of rejected mascot memorabilia. Is it real? No one knows. But we do know NJM is proud to put policyholders first. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance.
Insurance underwritten by NJM Insurance Company and its subsidiaries.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Before we check back in the text board at 609-403-0973, I do see some DMs coming in. But right now, the Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg joins us here on 97.3 ESPN. Where in the world is Dave Weinberg today?
Well, I'm back at Gusto.
Okay.
for trivia. Yeah, my Florida trip is over, unfortunately. Would have loved to stay in a little while longer, but yeah, family commitments and all that stuff. So yeah, back at Gusto for trivia.
Nice, very nice. So from Florida to North Cape May in less than a week for Dave Weinberg.
Paradise, both of them.
So, Dave, I want to ask you, because we were talking about the Phillies for, you came on, and, I'm a little conflicted because on one hand, yeah, last night was an exciting win to the game and all that kind of stuff, but I'm trying to figure out, is a game like last night a game that can propel a team forward, or is last night a game we're going to have nightmares and deja vu again later this year? Because, it's like this team, every single game, there's something that happens that either makes you want to facepalm or roll your eyes or just like walk away from the TV, because it's like this team, they just can't play a clean game of baseball, Dave.
Yeah, it was really bizarre last night, Josh. For kind of, misplays, Rojas letting that ball go over his head, but then he also hits a home run for the first time in like a decade or whatever. So, yeah, it's I have a hard time like gaining much confidence from last night. I mean, it was nice that they won, but the fact that the Kettering coughed up the lead, and then they had to rally in the bottom of the ninth when it seemed like they had the game in hand. That kind of like caused concern for me. I just don't get the sense that this team is the same as far as like chemistry and cohesiveness. I can't put my finger on exactly why, but I don't know. I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in them at the moment.
I made the analogy to, I remember in 2022, Dave, that all of us were complaining about, the defense, right? And that's why they acquired Sosa and Marsh in the first place. And now it feels like we're 3 years later right back to the whole, Turner doesn't have that error last night. Does Kerkering give up the home run to Lowe, right? If Rojas doesn't have the error he did on Sunday, does the Cubs game go the way it did? Like there's so many situations where it's like guys that you say should be making plays and they don't make plays, and then boom, something happens and it's like, well, if that didn't happen, the run doesn't score.
Yeah, but good teams find a way to overcome those kind of things. Mistakes do happen, and it's up to them to just put it aside, focus on the task at hand, and get out of the trouble. And he didn't do that. And it seems to me like the best teams, the good teams, the true contenders, and they did find a way to win last night in spite of it. But it just there's just so much uncertainty around the team. Like you said, when somebody makes a mistake, they give up a couple runs after that, and you never know what you're going to get from that point on. Luckily, the offense, or I should say the Nationals relief pitcher, bailed them out more than anything. But yeah, it's been a really bizarre season to this point for them.
And it's wild because I learned this morning that last night, Dave, was the first time the Phillies won on a walk-off wild pitch since 1993.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I forget who did it, but yeah.
It was Juan Bell.
That's right. Who I know.
Because we all remember him.
Yeah, I remember a lot of the 93 team, but he's not one of them.
No, he's not. Well, it was funny because I learned it because I was actually watching the Philly Show podcast, and so Lecky tried to see if Ruben Amaro Jr. himself remembered, and even Ruben didn't remember. He was on the team.
Wow, how about that?
So don't feel bad, Dave. Apparently, even the guys who played on the team didn't remember.
Wow, that's funny.
But in all seriousness, to me, Dave, I think the problem with the Phillies is and I've said this multiple times, and maybe I'm being too harsh, and maybe I'm being a jerk, but I think Dave Dombrowski needs to let go of his ego, stop acting like a know-it-all, and just say, hey, I didn't build a good enough roster. I need to retool this bullpen. I need to upgrade center field, and I need to let go of whatever preconceived notions I had about this team.
Yeah, I think you're right there. They took a chance. I think we've talked about this before. They kind of modeled this. They seem to follow the same pattern as they did in 08, 09, 10, 11, whatever and kind of try to ride the wave a little bit longer, and the waves come crashing down. Unfortunately, it's which is what happened back then too. I mean, they're just getting progressively worse, and yeah, I think I don't know about a total rebuild, but they definitely have to make some changes, no question about it, particularly in the bullpen.
When you think about the team moving forward, they're not a championship winning team, Dave. They're just not, as currently constructed, a World Series champion. And, all the people can tell me all they want that they like the Phillies better than XY team. But when push comes to shove, you can't have a team where out of the 26 guys, I only have confidence, like legitimate confidence in 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, by the way, do you watch Phillies post game live?
I mean, I watch it. I don't watch it. Like it's more so like it's on.
I just happened to watch. I just happened to watch it yesterday. And Barkan had Ben Davis as his host, and Crump was an analyst in the studio or on the from the ballpark, and they just went on and on about Alvarado and the fact that he loaded the bases, but then he came back and struck out the side, and that provided such a huge boost. And I'm like, did you watch the 9th inning at all? I mean, they didn't. They just got glossed over it. Oh, well, that happens. Blah blah blah, blah. I'm like, you can't praise one thing and then not criticize the other. It made no sense to me. And that seems to be a microcosm of the whole team. They just something goes wrong, they just try to overcome it or try to forget about it. And there's some serious problems here that are just not addressing.
Yeah, they're definitely not addressing. Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday live from Gusto Brewing in North Cape May here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, flip over to the Eagles. What were your overall takeaways from the Eagles draft? Do you think it was good? You think it was not so good? What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of addressing needs, particularly, first round pick Jahad Campbell, being a somewhat local guy. That's kind of an extra bonus, but I think he'll help both as a linebacker until Nakobe Dean is healthy again, and then as an edge rusher, which is something they needed. They drafted a safety in the 2nd round from Texas. I forget his last name. But anyway, that was a big need that they had without, after trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So, I was the only thing I was just kind of took me by surprise, and sure did everybody else, was they didn't draft a tight end. I expected them to take one in the relatively earlier rounds, like 2nd or 3rd round at least, to find a successor to Dallas Goedert, and they didn't do that. But otherwise, I thought they did a good job. First 5 picks were defense, which is what they needed to bolster, and then focus on the offensive line and that kind of thing. So, and drafting a quarterback. I guess they're going to do that every year now. I don't know, but it's the so-called quarterback factory right now. You got Colin Ford, another local Philly guy. So, I thought they did a pretty good job overall.
Well, it's better to be a quarterback factory than a quarterback collector like the Browns, who have like 6 of them now.
Man, you're not kidding. Yeah, that's a joke there.
Yeah, it's absolutely a dumpster fire in Cleveland. But back to the Eagles. It was interesting about the tight end is that when Howie was asked about that, Dave, he kept pointing to the fact that there were guys they had higher on their best available players. And, I don't think Howie was saying this to be like condescending, but he made the comment to the media over the weekend basically saying that, we don't want to be the team that only drafts for need, because that guy he suggested that got them in trouble in the past. And that, it's better to draft best available than only for need. And I thought that was a very odd way of putting it, because what Howie's basically saying is, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, Dave, but you've been around these press conferences for a long time. You know how this organization kind of does doublespeak, right? And, to me, that was almost Howie's way of saying, yeah, we didn't really like these tight ends as much as other guys.
I mean, I can understand you don't want to draft for need all the time, but if there's a glaring need, like I think tight end was, then I think you have to address it. If there's a guy rated high enough, worthy of a second or third round pick or whatever, and there obviously were. I don't know if you just go strictly by your draft board every time. And yeah, I think he just decided there wasn't a tight end worth taking, which I think is a mistake. But I guess we'll find out.
By the way, the safety you're talking about is Makuba, Andrew
Yeah, I'm
Makuba
sorry,
from
yeah.
Texas
Mhm.
in the second round.
Yep.
And honestly, that is actually one of my favorite picks of all
Mhm.
their guys.
Same.
To
Yep.
me, Makuba, Ty Robinson, those are two of my favorite picks because you're getting guys who theoretically could have been drafted higher, lower, and
Right.
I got to tell you, Dave, every person I've heard, the only complaint that's legitimate people can say about Makuba is his size. And at
Mhm.
some point, it's like, but can he play football? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you
Right.
can give me someone's, size and measurables, but I mean, guess what? If you can't do the job, it doesn't matter. And I love the fact that Makuba, Dave, he went 26 games to finish his college career, 0 penalties called on him. 0.
That
Not
tells
one.
me the kid's a football player, right? I
Right.
mean, we've gone back and forth about this, constantly about the combine and the value of it. Great, you can run a 40 and such. You can do so many reps with a 225 bench press, but if you can't tackle or you can't catch, that doesn't matter. And the only way you can find out if a football player is a football player is watching him play football, and that's what they did evidently with Makuba. Like you said, he's a player. He doesn't make mistakes. Really solid, and the intangibles might not be there, but who cares? I mean, the tangibles, I should say, the intangibles are there.
Intangibles.
Yeah, the intangibles are there, which is the only that matters, really, right?
And by the way, what brings me to the last point I want to ask you about is they drafted a linebacker in the first round for the first time since 1979. Like
Jerry Robinson, yep, UCLA.
Like I mean, but the difference is at least Jerry Robinson, that was a Dick Vermeil guy. You know what I mean? Like that was a guy that Dick Vermeil knew personally. He recruited him. Blah blah blah. Jahad Campbell. I mean, I had him as a guy the Eagles were targeting because I did a lot of research, but. To actually see a linebacker get drafted probably made people fall out of their chairs on Thursday night.
Yeah. I guess the only caveat to it is that he'll probably eventually wind up as an edge rusher, which I don't know if that really counts or not. But yeah, I was surprised like you. I mean, it's been, like you said, it's been decades since they pulled the trigger like that, and kudos to Cowie for going courses according to his draft board and finding the best available player, moving up one spot and grabbing who they wanted. I guess. Yep.
I will say, though, I don't want to overlook the fact, Dave, that they went 5 straight defensive players, and I don't care what anyone says. And I thought Todd McShay did a very good job on his show talking about this. Fangio's fingerprints are all over this. Like
sure.
Fangio, he's in Howie's ear, Howie's listening, and you know what? Give Howie credit. Give Howie credit for not being an egotistical maniac like Dave Dombrowski and listening to other people.
Right. Except for Vic Fangio, yeah.
Well, listen,
yeah.
I at least he's listening to people. I got Dave Dombrowski telling us how smart he is and, telling us the baseball team is good enough, whereas Howie keeps turning to Vic and be like, hey, Vic, you've been around the block. You tell me.
Yeah, he's willing to listen to other voices, which is, key to being a successful executive, no question. By the way, you looking forward to Chase Petty's debut today?
MLB TV, I got the app on my phone. Cardinals, Reds tonight.
Yep.
Now, the question is, though, Chase Petty, how many innings does he pitch? That's going to be the interesting thing to watch tonight.
True, yeah. He'll start, but who knows how far he's going to go. But, yeah, it's just the fact that he's getting that opportunity, though, at 22 years old. That's just something that kids always dream about, and that they'll finally be there and experience that. This is a really special moment. I hope he really, enjoys it and has success.
By the way, it's the second, Cape Atlantic League alumni to pitch have had their debut with the Reds in the last couple of years, right? Because Brett Kennedy a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Now Kennedy, that was on July 4th. That was absolutely nuts, But at least Chase Petty is getting his break with the Reds on a normal night of the week.
That's true. Well, didn't Brett didn't he make his debut with the Padres before that, or was it vice versa? I forget.
No, he did debut with that was his major league debut. I meant his debut with the Reds.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's pretty cool. Yep.
Brett's very first Reds start was just a couple of years ago. So
yeah, I remember that. Yep. He had been through the ringer. He had gone been the Padres, been down playing in the Atlantic League for a while. Got a call back up and really made the most of it. Yeah, I remember that vividly.
Yeah, I'm just happy for Chase because when I interviewed him last year, you could just tell that he just works hard. Like he's not like some like entitled kid or anything like that. Like
right.
He didn't take anything for granted. He doesn't look at it as like he's owed anything. Like he even told me, he's like, when I got traded for Sonny Gray, I was like, wait, what? Like he was even shocked that he got traded for Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of tells you like he doesn't think like I was traded for Sonny Gray. It doesn't like puff out his chest. He's just like, dude, I got traded for Sonny Gray. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's true. It's good that he's humble and understands what the opportunity presents for him. And it's really nice to see a hometown kid get this opportunity, and hopefully he'll make the most of it and enjoy himself out there.
Dave Weinberg at Dave Weinberg 19 on the Twitter X platform, Extra Point columns at 973ESPN.com, and he's joining us live from Gusto Brewing in North Cape May here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, say hi to Zach and everybody down there at Gusto, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely, Josh. Thanks as always. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds like a plan. Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh from Cape May chimes in at 609-403-0973, says, we need another Mariano Rivera type player to come up just for Major League Baseball's sake. It's been too long since guys like Lidge and Papelbon pitched in Philadelphia. And the problem is, I don't know if you're ever going to see that kind of pitcher again. Right? I don't know if that pitcher is ever going to come along again because, again, there's two problems in baseball. The one problem is the reality that I just don't think guys have the same mentality as the closers that we saw before. When guys like Rivera and Hoffman and Lidge in 2008, and even Papelbon, even when Papelbon was like past his prime, there was an attitude that those guys came into the game and they were like, this is my ball, this is my moment, this is my game. And I just think that there is something to be said for the fact that the mentality's not there anymore. But as Ruben Amaro Jr. said on the Philly Show podcast, there's another issue for why guys are not as good at bullpen pitchers, especially in the Phillies organization today, as they were years ago.
People are running out of pitching. Well, you don't run out of pitching if you don't have your pitchers throw as hard as they possibly can every single pitch and spin it as hard as you can. And you develop players who can pitch and throw strikes and get outs in a different way in the bullpen. We built guys with velocity and spin that are breaking and not able to recover. So that's the reason why you don't have enough pitching.
And it's something I've heard Tommy Green talk about on the mound with Tommy Green on Billy Schweim's show on Sundays on 97.3 ESPN. Not every pitcher today actually knows how to pitch. There's a whole group of these guys. They just throw as hard as they can for as long as they can until their arm falls off. And these guys don't actually approach hitters to set them up or manipulate the batter's box or move the ball around the plate or, try to see if I can hit the corner, setting. There's not enough of that. There's way too much guys saying, if I throw the ball hard enough, if I spin the ball hard enough, as Ruben Amaro Jr. was saying, then I'll get the guy out. And it's just, that's not baseball anymore. I think Josh Cape May is right. You don't have the guys with the mentality or the pitching, just the pitching savvy, right? To go out there. Mariano Rivera basically had one pitch. But he was so good at manipulating hitters with that one pitch. He could get guys out, at a high level because he manipulated them constantly. Well, you're not going to manipulate people by just throwing as hard as possible and say, hit this. No, that's not how it works. You got to actually move the ball around the plate, change speeds. You got to attack the hitter at his weak points. And today, pitchers don't always do that. And so that's part of the reason why Josh Cape May, you don't see those guys at this level anymore. And it's disappointing. It really is. By the way, Mike Mamula was considered a pass rusher coming out of college. That's why he is not a linebacker, whereas Jahad Campbell was an actual linebacker at Alabama. He played interior and outside linebacker in different years. And in fact, Brian Baldinger actually is the one who said that Jahad Campbell was the best linebacker in this year's draft. So if Baldy says he's a linebacker and Daniel Jeremiah says he's a linebacker, then he's a linebacker. And Mamula was more like a pass rusher who... Mamula was more so drafted because he was just such a workout warrior, and that whole story. I don't want to rehash it here, but that was also a different time and place and defense. All right, let's get to the break. Coming up on the other side, Andy McNamara joins us here on 97.3 ESPN. Talk some more NFL draft with Andy coming up on the other side.
This Saturday morning, tune into The Locker Room. Josh Hennig and Nick Earnshaw will be broadcasted live from the Cooper River Park in Camden County at the Down and Derby Wine Festival. Saturday is the 151st Running for the Roses. Jeffrey Nash from FastlaneHandicapper.com will preview the Derby. Plus, you'll hear from Hall of Fame jockey Tony Black on his experiences riding in the big race. Mr. Negadelphia PJ Korda checks in, plus Director of Camden County Freeholders Lou Capelli. It's The Locker Room with Billy Schweim, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Do you disregard people's personal space? Sitting next to people in public, even if there are tons of open seats? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. There's still time. Come to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale and get a queen mattress and adjustable base for just $499.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
What? All the budget has to be used now? And we can use all the media buy?
Javier's marketing firm just got its dream funding.
Okay, ideas. Bobbleheads? No. T-shirt cannon? I seriously need some help here.
He needs to find marketing managers who are worth every dollar.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsoring a job on Indeed gives it a visibility boost, so you can hire faster. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Chris Coleman, and spring is in full bloom on DraftKings Casino. New players and promos are sprouting up daily. Right now, new players can play $5 on anything and get 350 casino spins instantly on a featured slot game. Download the app and sign up with code DK973. That's code DK973. Take the featured slot for a spin and explore thousands of others in the DraftKings game library. Check back daily to claim the hottest offers and promos on DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. New players, remember this code. DK973. Play $5 on anything and get 350 casino spins instantly on a featured slot game. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Physically present in New Jersey. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Non-withdrawable casino spins valid for featured games only and expire in 168 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends June 15th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
On a first date, feeling real stressed. Got secret in my pits, he's impressed. Leaning close for that first kiss. He smells like stress, I smell like bliss. Secret clinical, stay fresher under pressure.
Secret anti-perspirant, come on.
Secret every day, keeps that sweat away. Secret every day, keeps that smell away. Secret every day, keeps that sweat away. Secret every day, keeps that smell away. Secret clinical, stay fresher under pressure.
Greetings, Boomtown. Ever since this neighborhood switched to Xfinity Internet,
the Wi-Fi is booming!
Xfinity combines the power of internet and mobile with one all-in plan.
So we've all got lightning-fast, secure Wi-Fi speeds at home and on the go with Wi-Fi Power Boost from Xfinity Mobile.
You get the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best in-class equipment and unlimited data included. Plus, add an unlimited mobile line.
All for only $40 a month for 1 year. To celebrate this combo, we're mashing our shows together.
It's everything you need all in one plan. Plus, learn how to get a free 5G phone with a premium unlimited line. Now, sit back and relax with the smooth, relaxing sound
of face-melting acid metal!
Brilliant.
Visit Xfinity.com to learn more. Ends June 23rd with paperless billing and autopay stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet gateway required. Texas fees extra. After 1 year rate increases to $110 a month. After 2 years, regular rates apply. Actual Wi-Fi speeds vary. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed broadband experience report August 2024.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
But here's part of the brilliance with Howie. He recognized this class is where this class is strong is rounds like 4, 5, 6. There was a lot of good players who had played a lot of ball, more so than you're going to get in a normal year, okay? And there's not always going to be this one last year like bleed over from COVID, okay? And so we've had more dudes in later rounds that are competent that can come in and actually compete.
That was Todd McShay on the Todd McShay Show, talking about the aftermath of the NFL draft, the Eagles and their value in the later rounds. We'll get into all that and more from a man who spent so much time consuming the draft that when it was done, I feel like he just was so glad it was over. That being Andy McNamara, host of the Sick Podcast, is back here on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, how much whiskey did you go through over the weekend?
Oh, boy. You know what? I was so angry with the Browns. Dylan Gabriel picked Josh. I was too mad to even drink. That's how mad I was. I was perplexed and furious at that. There was a little sipping after the good picks and just rage after the others. Eagles did it again, by the way, Josh, like we talked about. Howie did it again. Remarkable draft. Unbelievable.
But before we get into the particulars of the Eagles and the Browns and others, was there a team or a pick for you that did not involve the Eagles or the Browns that you were like, you know what, that move was way smarter, better, or because for me, the pick for me at least, I thought the Colts getting Tyler Warren was a borderline steal, not because I think Warren's the best tight end in the world, but because where he's going. He's going to a coach in Steichen who likes to use tight ends historically. And I think that, for a team that doesn't have a quarterback, maybe at least having a tight end can maybe, cover some more, gaps and problems.
Yeah, I love that value for the Colts. And that was a spot where a tight end was mocked quite a bit. So it makes sense that Tyler Warren was there. So I like that. One of my favorites, not involving the Browns or Eagles, was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19, Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, because that guy, he got overshadowed at Ohio State. But this guy could potentially be the best wide receiver, pure wide receiver. Take Travis Hunter for what you think he will or won't be.
Not pure wide receiver.
Exactly. Pure wide receiver. Egbuka could be the best. And I like McMillan. I love the size. But this guy just knows how to produce, and he's business, Josh. He reminds me a lot, just the quiet under the radar type, like an Amari Cooper, where the year goes by, and then you look at the stats, you're like, holy cow, Amari Cooper had a great year. Not last year, but in general, over his career. It's like, whoa, man. But he's very quiet about it. Egbuka's business, and I think that could be a beautiful pickup for the Bucs as Mike Evans nears the end, starts to go. You have fresh young legs you can bring in, and you can make an impact. And that's going to be a nice weapon for Baker Mayfield.
See, for me, it's funny you mentioned that description because the guy that I compared Egbuka to is Reggie Wayne in terms of that business approach, where it's like he just goes out there, he does the job. Like you as a fantasy football guy, Reggie Wayne was like the ultimate, how did Reggie Wayne get this many points? You would always look up and you were like, well, what happened? You would look back at the game, what the heck happened that I missed?
Exactly.
He was just so quiet and simple about it that he would just put up just 1,300 to 1,500 yards a season, and it was no big deal.
And that's what I think we're going to see out of Egbuka in that Tampa offense. that can get receivers that type of production. And I think he'll be good as a rookie, but over the next couple of years, he'll move his way up the depth chart as other players age and leave and change and all that.
When you think about, now let's get to the Eagles here, because, they draft the linebacker for the first time since 1979. Okay. They don't draft linebackers in the first round. They just don't.
Right.
But I think what makes Jahad Campbell unique is that he's more than just a quote-unquote linebacker, right? It's the idea that he can edge rush. He can play the interior. He can basically play up and down the line. And I think that for Philadelphia, Howie Roseman claimed that their whole draft strategy, Andy, was best player available. Well, I think some people want to know, were Jahad Campbell and Andrew Makuba best players available?
Well, I think for Campbell, absolutely. And he had surgery on, was it torn labrum?
Torn labrum, yep.
That's okay. That's fixed, and it's not like a blown Achilles or a knee or anything like that. This guy fell, and depending on what mock you were looking at, he was going anywhere in the teens to the 20s, and he was right there for the Eagles. Traded up one spot, and they got him. Josh, as soon as he got that, I was laughing. I'm like, of course, Howie Rose. Of course. The best players always seem to fall, and he gets them. Like you said, versatile. This is a pick where you can look at and go, oh, man, that's a player. That's somebody that fits in. That's somebody that can be dynamic in multiple spots. You know the player because I texted you about him in the 4th round, who I loved, and I talked on your show about him right after the Combine.
Yep.
Ty Robinson. You got him. I was like, man, I'm going to have to watch more Eagles games now because I wanted the Browns to get him. Of course, he wasn't a 5'11" quarterback, so he didn't qualify apparently.
Of course.
Anyway, I'll get to that later if you want to. So mad. But you look at Ty Robinson. That was the guy, Josh, I was telling you, at the Combine on this show. Look, he was frothing at the mouth. It was like a pent up, lion or tiger or something. Just a horse, just frothing, ready to go. At the Combine, he was the only guy I saw. Everyone else was technique, and that's what you do. You're doing technique, you're going through. He was punishing those tackling dummies. He was aggressive. He was a go-get him. Now, he was a bit undersized. That's why he dropped to the 4th round, right? As far as weight size. But if you utilize him, and the Eagles are a smart organization, I'm sure they will, you can move him all across that line depending on situations, and you have a guy that you can just say, go like a dog, go get him, and let him off the leash. Ty Robinson's a monster out of Nebraska, and boy, he's listed as a defensive tackle, but I think you're going to be moving him all around. I'm very excited to see how he works into this rotation for the Eagles. That could be, as exciting as Campbell is and Mbuka, this could be the dark horse ad eventually. Maybe not this year, rotation, but if he gets an opportunity, I think this guy's going to be a star and a fan favorite.
Well, the good thing about Robinson is that when you're playing next to guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, because they just picked up Jordan Davis's his 5th-year option this year, so he'll be here for the next couple of years, Jordan Davis. You're playing against the guys who are that much bigger than you. They kind of make up for your lack. And let's be realistic. You know how it is, Andy. These guys get in NFL locker rooms, get with a workout training program. They can put on a little bit of size, a little bit of weight, a little bit of you-know-what, just to kind of maybe offset some of that stuff. So I'm not overly worried about the size. I'm with you. I like the tenacity. I like the engine. And what's ironic is the game that made Ty Robinson initially famous was against Shedeur Sanders and that horrible offensive line, because that game, there was a one play, I forget what, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd quarter. He was triple teamed. And he ripped through all 3 guys and got after the quarterback. And Shedeur looked back and he's like, "Are you kidding me?" The look on his face at this guy. And Robinson just had a look on his face all day, baby, all day. And that was the moment I was like, all right, this guy got triple teamed. I don't care what's going on, right? At some point, number one, no one gets triple teamed unless you're one of the best out there. And number 2, he just ripping through guys nope, and it just was absolutely wild, that game. And that was the game that Nebraska destroyed Colorado.
And he ran the, I believe, the fastest 40 at the Combine, too, 4.83. Take that for what you will. It speaks to the athleticism that he has. But yeah, this guy's a total gamer. I'm very interested to see how he is worked in and used. Because if Philly can get a little creative with him, I think you got a weapon. And then you just keep adding to that defense. That's the thing, Josh. What are we talking about? Eagles lost or we're going to lose X, Y, Z. What does Howie do? Replaces them. And even if they're not day one starters, they're in a rotation. And then the next year, maybe they are starters. And then you backfill and you keep the train going. That's just what they do. That's what drives me nuts in a good way for the Eagles compared to my team that doesn't do that. The Eagles do it, and the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, who got destroyed, like you said, by Ty Robinson in the 5th round, and somehow, some way, had Dylan Gabriel ranked above him and several quarterbacks, which leaves me zero confidence in their quarterback evaluation process.
We're talking with Andy McNamara, host of the Sick Podcast at AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcast, the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. You mentioned the whole Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders thing. My position is I don't think Gabriel was rated ahead of Shedeur. I think that, if you go by the reporting out there, apparently Shedeur, he treated the interview process like a recruitment.
Yeah.
Like he was almost telling the teams, well, why should I play for you?
Mm-hmm.
And listen, anytime you get people's egos involved, right? You start messing with owners, executives, coaches' egos, right? You might be able to get away with that with an athletic director or a random fill-in-the-blank guy who's the emeritus of a college.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting away with that with NFL people. And I think it was a combination of that and the fact that I'm telling you right now, and I told you this before, talk about this. People hate his dad. They hate his dad for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people, I'm not going to call it collusion, okay? I'm not going to go that far, but I do think there's a lot of teams that they just wanted to humble the guy a little bit. And frankly, if you look at the video of him when he got picked, how he acted, I think he got humbled. He
Dion too. Remember, thank you. Like you could tell. I'm glad you said that. You could tell. I'm like, wow, those guys were humbled, and I think they needed it because you're right. And also, Josh, let's face it, Shedeur Sanders acting like he's better than everybody and not taking the interview process seriously at the combine. You could still do that if you were overall the best. You had Andrew Luck talent, and then teams would be like, hey, yeah, but he's really good. Shedeur Sanders is good. He's not great. And you can't act like that, acting like you're great when you're not. This guy, I think, could be a good starter, still could have success with a good team around, but he's not elite. He doesn't have an elite trait. That's why you can't act like that. And let's think of it this way, too. There was only a few teams that really needed a quarterback.
Right.
So when you look at that chunk, if you don't consider him elite, and then you go through Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, and those were the guys you evaluated as, all right, they have an elite trait or potentially elite trait, and you feel they could be. Then when those guys are gone, and if you're not urgent for a quarterback, well, I can get a starter in the 2nd round. Why would I take a backup there? I can get a starter in the 3rd round. Why would I take a backup there? And then you have a Jalen Milroe whose elite trait is running. Right? So that's another thing you can pick there. And then Dylan Gabriel is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Listen, I'm just going to jump in real quick. Gabriel's not making the team, okay?
He's going to make the team, Josh. That's what's going to drive me nuts. Andrew Berry doesn't cut draft picks. Andrew Berry, that's the thing. He doesn't cut draft picks. I agree with you. He should not have been drafted. His grade by most people, myself included, was either 7th round pick or undrafted. Why is that guy in the 3rd? This is what terrifies me, and everyone applauding the Browns for passing up Tyler Hunter. No, we don't need an elite talent. No, we don't need that. You were on my draft show. I'm freaking out. You calmed me down. Thank you. I was ready to quit. I was ready to close the computer on draft night. Me and Josh doing the show on the Sick Podcast. The thing is, so you got the extra 1st round pick. That's great. However, if this is the group evaluating quarterbacks, and Josh, let's go through it real quick. Andrew Berry has drafted Dorian Thompson-Robinson, skinny little guy, great attitude, who got traded to Philly for Kenny Babyhands Pickett, who came back the other way. Oh, they think Andrew Berry said they like Kenny Pickett better than other people. What the hell? then Your other draft pick, the only other draft pick that they have is Dylan Gabriel, a generously listed 5'11". When I talk to people, Josh, I'm hearing 5'9", 5'10", okay? Noodle-armed Hawaiian who's never played in the snow or cold or wind. This guy is going to make, mark my words, he's going to make a tremendous Canadian Football League quarterback one day. He's built for the CFL.
Yeah.
NFL, and in the third round, you get starters there. That's what gives me no confidence. So that's the team that's evaluating to use that extra first-round pick to get a franchise quarterback next year. What am I going to get next year? 5'9" guy? What?
That's
it's crazy.
That's the other problem, and that is, before I let you go, the other thing is that a lot. What's
I'm just going on. This is therapy when I'm on with you. I feel so good. I just feel like I really. Oh, sorry. Go on. It's your.
No, but I was gonna say is I think there's a lot of teams that are also looking in next year's class. A lot of teams looked at these quarterbacks and all their flaws, right?
Yeah.
Shuck and his constant injuries, and Jackson Dart and his inability to close games, and Shedeur Sanders' greatest trait is toughness and accuracy, right? And Dylan Gabriel and his all of his yards, but no arm strength, right? They look at these quarterbacks and they said, I'll wait till next year. I think a lot of teams did that. And for me, that's why I think for your Browns, and I'm going to make the prediction right now, your depth chart this year is going to be this. Flacco is starting, Pickett's the backup, Shedeur is the third guy, and somehow Gabriel will not be in Cleveland.
Practice squad, maybe.
But I literally think they drafted him to spite. I think they wanted to send a message. See, we liked somebody else better than you. And I think when you get to camp, people are going to look at Gabriel and they're going to look at Sanders and be like, Gabriel, what is that? Sanders, oh, that's a quarterback.
Yeah. Exactly. And the problem then is Andrew Berry's going to have to question, why did you waste a third-round pick when you needed a safety who was there? Offensive line, wide receiver. Why? That's the talent. The talent evaluation of quarterbacks in Cleveland is broken. It doesn't matter what the regime is. And I think this, too, don't you discount Will Howard going to Pittsburgh. I almost vomited when I saw that.
I know. You are so upset over that. That's your guy.
I was furious. I was sad. I had to unfollow Will Howard. I can't have Steelers stuff popping up my timeline.
Dude,
now I got to root against Will Howard.
You know what's going to happen in 2 years. He's going to be the starting quarterback. They're going to win 11 games.
Going to be a stud. And all you had to do was take him. One of the multiple times. Will Howard's going to be a star. Dylan Gabriel's going to be in Canada playing 3-down football. Okay? Yes. And round we go. And this is why I drink, Josh.
At AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform, at Andy, and was Andy McNamara Sports, Andy MC Sports on this.
Andy MC Sports on Instagram and TikTok. And by the way, Kentucky Derby this Saturday.
Yes.
If you guys want to see a fun, I did an NFL draft style Kentucky Derby draft. It's pinned at my Railbirds at Andy MC Sports. It's up there and on TikTok at Andy MC Sports. Check that out. It's like wrestling themed too. It's a ton of fun. You guys will love it.
It's perfect for me. It's perfect for me, is what you're saying.
It's right for you, bro. It's right for you. It's a fun watch. So get ready for the Derby too. If you want any stuff, we got it on. You covered that at my Railbird.
Yeah, I gotta start ramping up the research for that because I'm going to be hosting a show on Saturday. So
hit me up after, man. We'll I'll fill you in. I got some takes for you. Number 7, Luxor Cafe, son of American Pharaoh, 10-year anniversary of the Triple Crown winner out of Japan.
I know American Pharaoh. I know that.
He's his son. He's his son. And the guy's 15 to 1
Bloodlines.
Bloodlines, baby.
Just like the Eagles drafting Kendall and oh my goodness, who was the other guy they drafted? Hinton. The two
Hinton.
sons of former NFL players.
Yes. Real quick, what do you think of Kyle McCord? I think he's a bum.
They took McCord because one, he's a local guy, and they probably had some inside information on him that other people didn't have because he went to high school in Philadelphia and he's from the South Jersey area. And 2, they probably drafted him because there's probably a scout in the organization that probably saw something on tape that they said, we can use this guy in the preseason, develop him, and then turn him into a 3rd-round pick one day.
Exactly. And it's a 6th-round pick. So what, right? You're not.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, they're going to end up getting a second or third round pick one day for Tanner McKee,
Yep.
and then a third or fourth round pick one day for Kyle McCord, and Howie just keeps collecting those draft picks.
He's so good. I'm so jealous. Go Birds.
Andy, my friend, appreciate you jumping on.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. See ya.
Josh Hennig here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Shout out to Steven Ventnor. Says Jomo and Hunt played really well in limited reps last year. If the Eagles can get Bryce Huff to bounce back and get you some sacks, it makes you a lot less concerned about the Eagles' defense. Frankly, Steven Ventnor, I'm not even concerned at all. I think Jomo is a guy that the Eagles seem to like a lot. They like him a lot, and I trust their evaluation of guys in the trenches. So if they think Jomo's a stud, I'm going to trust him. And then Hunt's story is crazy. I mean, this guy, his evolution from what he was in high school to college to now is absolutely insane. And if he continues to trend up, ooh boy, you better watch out. That guy is going to be a very good player for Philadelphia. So good points there by Steven Ventnor. Bring up those two names. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody. I'll catch you tomorrow.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.